have a standard of living that can be paid for on its own without you having to work anymore. You have officially retired, and that's the goal, is for you to be able to stop working, not having to get up, even if you're a digital nomad and you have to get up to get this meeting, lock in this sale. You have to spend a portion of your day um, following leads to close the next deal so that you can keep having money coming in. You're not technically off from work, but you're not grinding that 80-hour a week, burning the candle at both ends scenario. When you don't have to do anything at all to make money for you so that your standard of living and your expectations within reason are compensated for, that's when you're able to fully say that you've retired, because you don't have to earn anything because money is already coming in on your behalf. Everything's already paid for. You just have to live, right? And you should be living good. So we want to give you guys the information to help you make changes and improve yourselves to get through that or get to that level. And then on Sundays, we have questions and comments from the fans. And those questions and comments that we get from the fans give us ideas to give you better shows going forward so that we can cover a lot more topics that help you with your ability to be financially successful, as well as successful in your personal life, because the decisions you make in your personal life impacts your finances. And then the decisions that you have to pay for have to put more pressure on your employment, because you're going to be pressuring your boss for more raises and bonuses and promotions in order to make the money to cover the spread, or in situations where you have to raise the prices on your clientele. When you're raising the prices on your clientele, it's harder to maintain stable income, because if you found the right price point and you had a full workload, when you raise the prices, you're going to lose the customers that can't afford the higher price. While you will get more customers in at the higher price, you'll get less customers than what you did at the lower price. And you might even break even on what you used to make, just work less, right? It, it could pay off for you if you're trying to get more free time, but if you're trying to make more money to cover more expenses, that's not a good look. So what we want to do is we want to give you guys the information that you need to be thoroughly successful so that you can live inside of the standard of living you have now, the income level you have now, reduce unnecessary costs, then put extra money away so that you have more money to go towards the things that you want to do later in life. Because the more money you build for later, the better things get for you down the line. And yeah, you can spin it in two different ways, because if you are doing things like buying a house and you're investing in these brokerage accounts, you can put a lot of money in a brokerage account on the first 2 quarters of the year, and then the last 2 quarters of the year you could be taking all of the excess money out of the brokerage account and putting it towards the mortgage to pay the mortgage down faster, making larger payments on the mortgage. And by putting all of that down on a loan, by the end of the fiscal year, you end up not owing taxes on that particular uh, uh, um, tax blanket. Now, you can only do so much for so long, and eventually you're going to either pay off your house sooner rather than later, or you're going to end up having to pay some taxes that wasn't covered by the money that you've invested, because you're making more money than you're generating debt. But when you're making a purchase these days in 2026, your mindset should be, go get the a reasonable quantity of tax loss that you can find. As far as deductions, and make a list of things that are deductible and how that applies to you. And when you decide to make a purchase, before you go do an impulse buy, you instead want to see, is there a deduction on this purchase? If there is, you get it. If there isn't, then you got to really reconsider it. You have to decide if this really does benefit my long term, or if this just a like in the moment entertainment feature, right? So today, Thursday, we're going to be actually talking, well, today's Friday. We're going to be talking about getting you a magnetic personal brand. And uh, if you've built an empire, you've climbed that ladder, you've shattered every ceiling that you thought would hold you back, and you're at the top of your game. You know, in your career, you might feel like you're king. a man who makes things happen, who gets stuff done in your society, in your neighborhood. You're the go-to guy, right? You have the respect of your peers, money in the bank, and the freedom that comes with that. But there's one area of your life where you feel like you're coming up short. Finding a loyal, devoted, high valued partner, which is what a lot of people have been looking for over the past 5 years. Hold on a second. He's got a good question. If you are a W-2 worker, can you get tax deductions? Tax deductions work best with W-2 workers. The reason why, first and foremost, 100% of people who file taxes qualify for deductions. The difference between a W-2 worker and a 1099 person or a self-employed individual, a tax deduction is taking away from how much money you owe when they say that you have to pay on the money you've earned, right? Now, a W-2 worker, your boss already took the money out of your check. So the government is sitting on your money. When you file taxes, you're asking for it back based on the deductions that you qualify for, which is one of the reasons why LLCs are beneficial for individuals with W-2s. Any tax deductions under your LLC business flows through your W-2 employment, and that turns into a refund check. So say you're working $60,000 and say that you had to pay a total of $3,000 of taxation to the U.S. government. You have enough deductions where you don't have to pay that $3,000. But let's say your boss took that $3,000 out of your check and sent it to the U.S. government on your behalf based on the tax bracket of your job, right? Because you no longer have to pay that $3,000 worth of taxation because of the deductions, the $3,000 that they took from you, they have to give back to you without interest. So, especially in 2025, with taxation on tips, taxation on overtime hours being exempt, anybody who has claimed tips on their checks from credit cards and stuff to that effect that are going to get taxed on that, that money is going to come back to them in 2025 as a refund because they didn't really modify the model in 25 because the law just went into effect in 25. Then your overtime hours, where you would have been taxed throughout the year on that regularly, they're going to give you a massive deduction on that. So if you've been doing 15 hours of overtime all of 2025, and you've been doing that 55 hours a week, you're looking at a large quantity of overtime hours that you're getting. And the overtime hours is the halftime, not the time. So if you're doing 55 hours a week, you're getting taxed on 55 hours of regular time. The time is taxed. The half hour on top of that that's added to you is not taxed. So in that situation, that extra half hour of pay being non-taxed is going to be part of a massive deduction, or not a deduction, a refund for you this year, because they didn't really change the system. Everything is still set up the way it was set up in 2024. So, say you have 10,000 hours of, that's a lot of hours, but say you have 10,000 hours of overtime, of half hour overtime. And that totaled you, because Trump said up to $25,000. Let's say I told you up to $15,000. Let's say that you had $15,000 worth of overtime hours that was taxed, right? Because of those deductions, you're going to get that back as a refund. Yet you owe less, and because you owe less, the difference between a 1099 and a W-2 is that 1099 doesn't pay anything into the taxation pot, and then they get the deductions so that they don't have to pay into the pot. With a W-2 worker, you already paid in advance into the pot, and you get a refund back for situations where you've paid into the pot. Now, the interesting part about it is that you don't necessarily have to claim your money every year, because if you give the government money out of your paycheck, they're not going to argue if you don't ask for it back. You have up to 3 years to ask for it back. Otherwise, they keep it. However, if you want your money back every year, that's what forces you to file taxes. And that's one of the reasons why taxes is voluntary, not mandatory. But if you file taxes, you must tell the truth on your tax forms, because if they audit you and they prove that you're wrong, then you owe more money for being wrong. If you lie and say that you have less than what you really have, and that's called tax evasion, you know. But and then because you're America, if you have money overseas and you don't claim that, and they find it, I don't know how they would, but if they did, then the irony there is you're going to have to deal with that too. So you want to make sure that, because that's why Lil Kim was sitting in jail for tax evasion. Uh, Talking about she's not going to be a snitch. I'm sitting over here looking like, snitch? You the one that committed the crime. Who you snitching on? Your tax agent? I don't get it. But yes, if you're a W-2 worker, you get deductions as well. So depending on the things that you purchase and depending on the things that you pay for, like for example, when I was telling you guys about using loans to your benefit, if you borrowed money against a stone to subsidize income and whatever the case may be, and you paid let's say you borrowed $10,000 back in October to offset what was going on with the first shutdown. You took that $10,000 and you paid for all of your basic bills with that $10,000 for the next 6 months, whatever, right? And then you started putting all of your paychecks on that loan. Well, paying off that loan is paying off debt, and any income that goes towards that is paying off a debt, and that's not taxable, right? So, had you pulled something like that off, you would have been paying off a debt. Now, for those individuals that can pull off a $55,000 SBA loan, and their income is right around that amount of money, and you've got a $50,000 loan covering all of your expenses for the whole year, and then you're paying on that loan with your entire paycheck. They're looking at, well, shit, he gave everything. Excuse me, he gave everything he could to the loan. You're not going to be taxed on a lot of that stuff. There's more details to it, and talking to a tax agent or CPA gives you a better understanding, or paying someone to do it for you gives you a better understanding. TurboTax helps you out a lot. A lot of prompts that AIs you all the way to getting stuff done. So you can always take care of that situation where you don't have those issues. However, the problem that you're going to have after the fact on that is, well, that's not a problem. The problem that you're going to have after the fact on filing taxes is if you're doing brokerage accounts. That's going to be a problem, because some brokerage accounts don't give you the information until like May or June. You still got to file before April, so now you got to file for an extension. And when you file for the extension, while they might grant you the extension, that doesn't mean that they're going to withhold all the penalties or whatever for not filing on time. So they might add something to the top, but you're able to say, hey, I didn't make or I didn't spend. But if you have an approximation about how much you think you might have would have made about that time, you can kind of put those numbers out there and then run the wave and then see what happens. If you're paying attention to your December numbers when you start doing what you're doing, you'll find yourself not having to wait for the official paperwork and just fill everything out and put it out there, and then you'd be fine, right? Now, back to that. That was a good question, Steve. I'm glad you asked that. Spinning back over to the main topic about magnetic personalities. If you look around yourself and you see men with half your drive and a fraction of your resources who are in loving, committed relationships, and you're left wondering, what am I doing wrong? You think your success alone would be your greatest asset in dating. Well, you've been told your entire life to build, to achieve, and to provide. And now that you've done that, the only women who see and present themselves as being interested in you are the ones who are seeing you as a walking ATM, right? The women you actually want, the loyal, supportive, truly feminine, non-alpha male females who you want to build with, you seem distant or even put off by the very things that you've worked for. So the women that you long for, the family-oriented woman that you long for, they seem to be distant and put off by the very things that you've worked so hard for, because they don't really want your wealth. They don't want your career and your prestige. Not because they've got their own. They have different values to them, right? So what if I told you that your success isn't the asset that you think it is? Broke women treat your success, your financial success, as an asset. Self-sustainable women don't really need that all the time. So what if it is actually attracting the wrong women and pushing the right ones away? The mistake you're making is going to be highly subtle, and it is deeply ingrained in the very mindsets that make you a winner in the first place. And it's costing you the one thing money can't buy: a genuine connection with the woman who values you for the man that you are, not the empire that you've built. Today, we're going to expose that mistake. So I'll show you exactly what it is, why it's so destructive to your love life, and give you the blueprint to fix it. So let's be honest. Society taught you a simple formula: work hard, become successful, and you will have your pick of the women. So you put your head down, you grinded, you sacrificed, you built your business, and you're wealthy, or better off than you were in the beginning. Either way, you become that provider. Now you're here, accomplished, and yet profoundly frustrated. The dates feel like a job interview, the conversations are shallow. You get this nagging suspicion that the woman across from you is more interested in your lifestyle than your personality. And this is the paradox of the provider. The very identity you were told you would make desirable for someone else is now the source of the greatest dating pain. Why is that? Well, because you've learned to lead with it, which is one of the things I've been telling men for the last 2 years, stop doing. It is become your tool of attraction. Think about it for a second. On the first date, what's your playbook? Do you talk about the big deal you just closed, the new car, the exclusive restaurant you got a table reserved for you 100% of the time at? You're not doing that because you're arrogant. You're doing it because you believe this is what shows your value. Here's the twist. High value woman, one with her own sense of self and her own stability, is not primarily looking for a provider. So for her, financial stability is often the starting point, not the finish line. And we need to be looking for that type of characteristic in women these days. So she's going to be looking for a real partner. She's not looking for a transaction. She's not looking for a payday or a subsidy. She's looking for a true connection. So when you lead with the provider frame, you send an unintentional signal. This is a transaction. I'm offering to pay so that I can get something in return, whether it's a long-term relationship or a one-night stand. I provided the resources, and in return, I expect that companionship from you, right? The Riley theory. This framework is the magnet for women who are perfectly comfortable with that deal, the exact type of woman that you don't want. It's almost like those gold digger videos. Dude gets out on the street, parks his expensive vehicle down the block. He walks about 30 seconds away from the vehicle, keeps it in eye view, and then he'll try to talk to the woman, but he doesn't get too far from the vehicle, right? He gets a full-on rejection from the girl, right? And then he beelines it directly to the expensive car. knowing that within 3 to 5 seconds of her turning her back on him, she's gonna look back. Everyone does. And if he's walking towards an expensive car, she's gonna stop to see if that's where he's going to go to, directly to that car. When she sees him opening the car and getting into the car, she's going to make her way back over to the car, because that type of mentality was, oh, I missed a big fish because he was willing to spend a bunch of money on me, right? That's not the woman that you want. The guys that host these gold digger videos create a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the rare times that they actually do find a woman that does not care who they are and how much they have, is very refreshing for them. And they don't know how to act in those situations. But for the women that actually reject them because that woman is looking for resource, not a provider, not a protector, not a family man. She's looking for resources. That when you walked up, you wasn't what she was interested in, because she wasn't interested in a person at all. She was interested in stuff. And if that's not what you were willing to give her, she wasn't interested. So when she comes up and talks to the guy at the car, and then he entertains that conversation, he's actually only supporting a negative environment. Because why? Should have drove off. Should have even gave her the opportunity to rebuttal. But being able to reject her back the way she rejected him gives that guy some sort of a small victory, to say that he, called out a gold digger. But he's not locking down dudes doing gold digger videos for years, but he's not locking down a good woman. Because what good woman gonna have him out there picking up chicks? He's a single man with an expensive car, rejecting women that rejected him first when they did not want him for who he presented himself in the beginning. It attracts the wrong attention, and it will simultaneously act as a repellent to the type of woman that you do want. A secure, high value woman hears and thinks, he doesn't see me, he's trying to oppress me with his wallet, assuming that's all I care about. And that is insulting, right? She isn't impressed by your success. She often has her own success. That she doesn't have to broadcast on the first date either. Ironically, we start with, what's your name, what's your job? Both sides of the fence does it. Women ask a man, what's his name? And then, what do you do for work? And a man will ask a woman the same question in return, because he doesn't know what the hell to ask her. Besides, what do you like? What makes you happy? What do you do for fun? None of those questions actually identifies how she would value him as a man. It just identifies how he can find his way in to entertain her enough to get her to stay. Right? So when you're talking to a woman, and the first question she asks you is, what do you do for work? You don't talk about work on the first date. You don't talk about work on the third date. And if she's not satisfied with that, you slide her down the list. But when you get a valuable woman, what she's looking for is much more rare. A man that she can respect for his character and connect with on an emotional level, which means that it doesn't matter what you do for work. When are you free? How busy are you? Is going to be questions you're going to hear from her. Not, where do you work and how much money do you make? Steve says, when I step to my old Toyota with the bad paint job, I tend to have the same problem. You telling me you went out there trying to talk to a chick, and she didn't want to talk to you at first. Oh no, she wanted to talk to you at first. Then when you walked up to the old Toyota with the bad paint job, she was like, nah, never mind. And she walked off. That's good. That's fantastic. Right now, it's like a 23-year-old car right now. I got one car that's 23. I got one car that's like 19 years old. And I'm sitting over here like, if my car is older than you, we might we might have to talk about dynamics here. Because when if oh yeah, I got this 2003. I was born in 2003. I'm like, you on the cusp. You on the cusp because I'm looking for maturity, right? I mean, most men won't say no to somebody over the age of 18 because they're legal, and the younger they are, the more kids they can have for you, and the less destroyed they've been. Unless they're an OnlyFans girl under the age of 18, then that's a different story. Like that one girl that got ran through in her high school by 25 boys in the bathroom. How do you do that? How do you do that? You're not even grown yet, and you got a body count of a professional actress. But either way, yes. I actually made it. I made it a point to hold, no matter how many expensive new cars I buy. I make it a point to hold old beat up cars. Not necessarily 100% beat up. They just like really old cars, and I will try to go places and do things with those old cars, and they run real good. They get you where you got to go, right? And if the person that I'm talking to is not interested because of the car that I drive, then I'm not interested. You got to be interested in me, regardless of whether I'm walking or driving. But if I'm driving, I'm one step up because your ass was walking. You should be interested in the fact that I'm driving. Now, the dynamic is that if I find value in a person, then I can bring that person back to the house. But like I told you guys before, that first date, go to her house. Why go to her house? Because if you got a nice house, you don't want her to come to your nice house and then she fall in love with all of the expensive stuff in your nice house. No, that's okay. You go to her house, buy some pots and pans and bring them over to her house and do the dishes, right? And why do you do that? Because she should know what your estate looks like after she accepts who you are. If she has to decide how much she's going to respect you based on how much stuff you have, you've got somebody that's only interested in the stuff that you have. So it's a huge difference. Your business oriented logical mindset, which is the very engine of your success, has become a suit of emotional armor. It's effective for the boardroom, but it's suffocating for building intimacy. I was about to say it's a sophisticated approach to closing a deal when you're doing business with other individuals, because I'm thinking about two things at one time. And the reason why it would be good in a business deal is because if everyone in my company is making money, you should make money with me too. It's almost like Cadillac Records, where Muddy Waters says, "Stick around me long enough, and everybody gets a Cadillac." And he was right. He had a Cadillac. His manager had a Cadillac. Everybody he hired had a Cadillac, except for Wolfstack. Wolfstack stayed on his own money, but Wolfstack owed nobody nothing. Muddy had to always go up there and do extra shows to pay back the advancements. He had to put in extra work to pay back the advancements. But when he said, "Stick around with me," and everybody got a Cadillac, he was extra rich in his bragging rights. And for anybody who got with him as far as joined his band, they all got paid, right? That works in business. You can find great talent by saying, "Hey, great talent gets paid big bucks with me." That doesn't work in relationships. You can get a gold digger. You can pick up a call girl out of a strip club, a bikini bar, out of a bar somewhere, a nightclub or anything like that. I will spend a bunch of money on you. You'll never have to work again, and you can take all of my cars and travel the world for free and live in all of my expensive houses. Broke women will jump on that all day long, but a woman that wants something real, not going to be interested in that. So let's look at the three ways that this provider first identity sabotages your love life. Okay. First is attraction mistake, because your success is a giant glittering lure. But when you dangle it, the promise of wealth and status will catch women who are hungry for exactly those things. You show up in a Porsche, the girls that are going to run up and talk to you want that Porsche. They want to ride in it. They want to drive it. That's not about you. It's the fact that you got a Porsche. They know how to play that part and stroke your ego and make you feel like a king because you showed up in a Porsche and they want a Porsche. You show up in a G-Wagon and they want a G-Wagon, and they will entertain you for the fact that they want to be seen in it. They want to take pictures on it and post it on their social media page. And a lot of times just to build an identity of being affiliated with riches, they will do what it takes sometimes in order to get that image, even though they end up broke on the back end. And those connections are going to be hollow because it's contingent on your performance. And we just talked about this yesterday. Building an identity based on performance as men. It is not what we're supposed to be doing. Second is the emotional armor, because to succeed at high levels, you have to be tough, rational, and often emotionally detached. The problem is you don't take that armor off on a date. Instead of engaging with the woman on an emotional level, you engage on a logical one. You solve her problems instead of validating her feelings. A woman doesn't fall in love with a business plan. She falls in love with a man's heart and spirit. Now, she'll benefit from the business plan. She'll sign on to the business plan. But if she doesn't have an emotional attachment to you, she can definitely have one with the pool boy in your expensive house, and the yoga instructor while you're at work, and the tennis coach while you're on vacation with the secretary. Without emotional connections, she can't feel safe, and intimacy cannot grow between you. Yeah, y'all might have some transactional interactions with one another, but the how do I say this appropriately on live TV? The connection that you're looking for comes from a more emotional and intimate level than the surface level. He's got stuff and I want it kind of thing. Third, and the most critical, is the fear of vulnerability. Because in business, vulnerability is a weakness. In a relationship, it's the currency of that very same intimacy that you're looking for. It shows someone that your true self, flaws and all, is able to be trusted by them, and you're trusting them with it. A high value woman isn't looking for a perfect robot. The gold diggers are. They're looking for the final product, right? Those are the women that are not willing to build up a man. Those are women that want a man that's already finished doing all of the hard part. A higher value woman is looking for a real man with the strength to be soft and confidence to be vulnerable. So when you refuse to take off the armor, you deny her the chance to see the real you. And if she can't see the real you, she can't truly love the real you. I tell women the same thing when we're talking about taking off her makeup, because I mean, a man can't love you for who you are if you've got more makeup than Homie the Clown every time you walk outside the house. Think about that. But does any of this stuff sound familiar? Let me know in the comments. Because if you've ever felt like your success was more of a burden than a blessing in your dating field, you might be in the right place at the right time, learning the right things. You're going to find yourself stuck in this paradox. You keep leading with your achievements, attracting the wrong women, and getting the same disappointing results. It doesn't matter if you smash or not on a first date, second date, fifth date. You find that this isn't just inconvenient, it is a frustrating cycle. Because these connections never last long. A couple months, half a year. It's a relationship out of convenience. And when she finds you not convenient anymore, it dissolves itself. And that puts you in a more of an emotional pit than actually breaking up over doing something wrong. Because when your relationship with her is no longer convenient for her and she disappears because she found something more convenient, she's not going to tell you why she left, but it will be presented as if it's your fault. You don't know what you did. You're with an unclosed chapter. You're reaching out and trying to connect with her, trying to find out what happened, trying to fix it, trying to get back together. She's already moved on because you didn't do anything wrong. You're not what she wanted. You were convenient at the time. And once she found what she wanted or something closer to what she wanted, she migrated toward it like a parasite. It's something that happens. Men do this too, but you have to understand that you're not going to figure out what happened with that last relationship because you could have done everything right. But because they didn't want you, they wanted what you had. And you didn't have enough, or they stopped having access to what they wanted from you, they move on. And it starts with this spark of hope because you meet someone, go on a few dates, you do what you do best, which is impress them with your wallet. You impress them with your resources. You're going to take her to a nice place, talk about all of your accomplishments, show her the world you've built, put her up, give her your A game. You're borrowing money to give her your A game, right? And it feels good for a while. But then emptiness creeps in. You realize the conversations are always about what you're doing, not how you're feeling. You know, you're closed on an expensive deal, so you're going to get a new bonus. Oh yeah, she wants to see how we spend that money. She didn't help you get it. You're getting a promotion and you're about to go shop for a new car. Oh yeah, she wants to help you pick out the car you're going to drive her around it. Stuff to that effect. But how are you doing after a hard day's work? You know, how do you feel with all the stress of all of these loans hanging over your head? And then being furloughed because of the second shutdown in 8 months. You know, these things are different with that type of person. And then comes that disappointment because you see a red flag, a sense of entitlement, an overemphasis on material things, or just a general lack of curiosity about your inner world. Your gut's going to tell you something is off. You're going to ignore it. The connections are going to feel superficial. You're going to ignore it. And that hurt, that hope that you had is going to curdle into resignation. You're going to quit. You're going to pull out. And then you're right back to where you started in the beginning, alone, right? After a few rounds of this, you retreat into your work. Stop even trying to date at all. It's the place where the rules make sense and your efforts produce predictable results. You tell yourself that you're too busy for dating. But the truth is, you're just tired of the disappointment. This leads to the most painful part, the loneliness at the top of the list and at the top of your success, because they say that one is the loneliest place that you can ever be. There's no one else there. You're surrounded by success, yet you feel completely alone. You have everything a man is supposed to want, but no one to share it with. No one to celebrate the wins with who isn't on your payroll. Like when MC Hammer was taking everybody with him, when Cash Money Millionaires was taking everybody with him, you brought the whole team with you through your success. Half the people in the video didn't do nothing but celebrate, right? You spending your money. You can say that you've got a lot of friends, but when you close your wallet and close those bank accounts, at the end of the day, you run out of money, or you run out of friends because you stop spending your money. MC Hammer was the man. MC Hammer did a lot of stuff because, I mean, he spent, what, $500,000 a month paying the salary of all of the homies that he had gotten out of jail so that they wouldn't have to go back to jail. But they're spending all of his money. When the man lost his whole estate, he's around $5 or $6 million right now worth of net worth. But when he lost his whole estate, all of that $500,000 a month he was giving to all those people to keep them up. They didn't put their money together and give him $800,000 so the IRS wouldn't take all of his shit. They thank you, I appreciate it, and spent the money that he gave them and came back for some more every single month. He was paying people $3,000 to $5,000 a month just to stay out of trouble. See what I'm saying? It's crazy. And he had the largest audience on his stage, and everybody there called a salary. You give him $53 million in a year. He's getting like Tom Brady pay to pay for everybody else. My first rap concert was CNC Music Factory in Tuscan in Freedom. The main singer passed out right in front of us, and we thought it was part of the show, but it wasn't. So they canceled the concert. Well, New Edition had gotten into a fight on the stage, and then they turned that into a routine where they changed their outfits. A lot of concerts have that happen where things don't go according to plan because it's live in concert. But the important part about this is that if you're starting with your wallet instead of starting with your character and your personality, you find yourself attracting the wrong type of person, and you realize it, and you ignore that. And this is going to give you a deep existential ache where the feeling of being fundamentally misunderstood starts to surface because you're advertising the wrong thing. And from this loneliness, a new monster is going to be born. Gold digger paranoia. Because every woman that you meet becomes a suspect, even if it's not true. You're no longer looking for green flags, you're hunting for the red ones. You put up tests like those gold digger videos. You become cynical. And you might even downplay your success. But this strategy is flawed because you're operating from a place of fear, not authentic connection. This guarded, suspicious energy pushes away genuine women, leaving only the most manipulative ones in the running. Wonder why you can't find all the good ones? That's because you're turning them away. The final stage is totally experiencing that dating burnout. You find yourself exhausted by the game. It starts to feel like a second job that you're not very good at, but you pay the most money in. You start to believe that many people may be loyal, loving partners, just that experience isn't in the cards for you. Deep down, you know that's a lie. And if this is resonating with you, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button because we're going to keep digging into these types of topics. We're going to help you win not just in business, but also in love. So we've talked about this problem and a painful consequence of following this problem by leading with your wallet. Now, let's get to the heart of it. The number one reason your success isn't working for you isn't the success itself. It's not the money or the ambition. The number one reason is that you are operating from a transactional mindset in a world that requires a relational mindset. Your professional life is built on transaction. You provide a service, you get paid. You invest capital, you expect a return. It's a world of quid pro quo. This mindset is logical, efficient, and great for building an empire. The mistake is assuming this same operating system works for building a relationship. When you apply a transactional mindset to dating, every interaction becomes a negotiation. Here's what that's going to look like. The date as a pitch. You treat the date like a sales pitch for you incorporated, presenting your features and benefits, wealth and status, and expecting her to buy in. Affection as a bonus. You're going to see that affection as a performance bonus. If you provide well, you get a bonus. The conflict and breach of contract. When disagreements arise, you think I provided all of this and you're still not happy. This transactional frame is the root of the problem. It's why you attract women who are also transactional. It's why you wear emotional armor and fear vulnerability. Because in a negotiation, showing your hand is a strategic disadvantage. He took 57 minutes to find his book. Tonight's book is Financial Peace by David Ramsey. Okay. Good twist. A high value, secure woman isn't looking for a transaction. I actually haven't read that book. I'm going to have to go and look that one up. But she's looking for a relationship with rational connections that aren't based on exchange. They're based on shared humility, emotional safety, and mutual growth. So you're going to think of it this way. A transactional connection is about what you can get. A relational connection is about what you can build together. Okay? So a woman of substance doesn't want to be a well compensated employee in the company of your life. She wants to be a co founder in the enterprise of your future. And she wants to know that if you lost everything tomorrow, the foundation of your connection, built on character and shared vision, would remain unshaken. Ambitious men often want a woman who believes in their vision, someone to take on their journey. So she believes his vision and she's going to take on his journey. The hard truth is, the skills that got you to the top in your career are the very skills you need to balance to reach the summit of a fulfilling relationship. So you don't need a better pitch. You need a new paradigm. All right. The way I feel about a date is, hold on. And should pay, yes, but bragging is A, not fun, and B, boring and not interesting. I want to talk about cool stuff, interesting things we share love for, etc. Well, I believe that these days, if you're going out on a date, at least the first 2 or 3 dates, she should pay. Women don't believe that that's a good mentality, but yeah, she should be testing my character, see the decisions that I make. If I'm choosing not with my money, am I going to be financially responsible or am I going to go all out? Because it's going to show that I still have a financially irresponsible mindset, even if she's covering the bill. I'm not impressing her with my money if I'm making expensive decisions with her money. If she pays, I can show her how I plan. I can show her how I budget. I can show her how I'm responsible as a man without getting caught up with flaunting my wealth. She's not there for the entertainment of what I'm about to pay for. She's there to see what I'm capable of. Employers do the same thing when they hire trainees. They pay the trainees to perform. Show me what you can do. I'm going to give you a little salary for that. And if you do it well enough, you've got the job. There is a 90-day probationary period that we all ignore because we assume that once they hired us after the interview, that we get to keep the job. No, you are more likely to get fired off the job in the first 90 days, the honeymoon phase, than what you would be after that 90 days. So I think she should pay. However, and her going Dutch doesn't really affect me much at all either, because she's only willing to go half. What happens if I lose my job? She's not willing to go the whole way. Show me how far you're willing to go for your relationship. That's my observation on that. However, on the other half, um, bragging is what men do. It's called peacocking. That's what men do. So we find ourselves bragging about our wealth. We find ourselves bragging about our stuff, uh, bragging about things that we do on the side for a hobby. Turning this cool trick on our skateboard, beating a new mission, being the first person to have pre-ordered GTA 6. All of the stuff that we brag about, right? And then when we start talking to a significant other, or a potential significant other, we try too hard to find shared values and shared love by asking her what she likes and dislikes about life, so that we can agree with her, to give off a false perception that we have a lot of things in common. You don't have an opinion on half of the things that she likes and dislikes, but because she likes it, you'll like it just so that she likes you. I think all of that is the wrong mentality. I personally believe that she should go ahead and cover the front end, let you plan. Or, like I told y'all about that date night where y'all cook a meal together, y'all go grocery shopping together, y'all cook a meal together, sit there and eat dinner together. Y'all can talk about a lot of important things in life: ambitions, goals, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plans, um, efforts that you're putting towards succeeding with your goals. And in the meantime, you could potentially find hobbies, free time activities, and see if there's some bonding along the way. But you want to find out if your partner's responsible, and also if your partner is going to be willing to pay attention to your needs in addition to their own, right? You're young, so you want to talk about cool stuff, but cool stuff isn't what make a relationship long. Responsible stuff is what makes a relationship long. But when you get to that marriage part, where the vows, to have and to hold, to love, when you get to obey, they're not really serious about that part. In sickness and in health, they don't really think about what sickness means. For richer or for poor, they're not agreeing to that part either. And then, till death do us part. Divorce proves that never happens. Almost 90, 60, 70% of the time, we don't get to the death do us part. So when you think about those vows, if they can't commit to it, this is an ending in a divorce. And no matter what happens, this is gonna linger, right? You got to ask yourself, the chick you're talking to right now, would you really tolerate this type of treatment for another 50 years? If the answer to that is nah, bruh, it's not the right one, or it's not the right time. Michael said, another great book, Antlers in the Trees by Who Goosed the Moose. That sounds like a children's book. Are you okay, Michael? Have you been drinking lately? The first one seemed to be okay, but then you came back with the second one, and I don't recall ever seeing a book with an author who goosed the moose. Either way. Oh yeah, a man. Take her to McDonald's. You don't have to take her to McDonald's on a first date. You can go to a park with some sandwiches. You don't have to do anything. Being a YouTuber, being a YouTuber is a project that you can have. But take two content creators, for example. If you're a live content creator like I am, right? But I only put today's main topic on the show. She is a walking social media platform. When I get involved in that, now I am dating live on the air. Our values may not be the same on that. There are certain things that I might not want to be broadcast on live TV, and then there's other things that I wouldn't mind. If you're talking to a content creator on your first date, usually people lead with that as a content creator on the first date. I don't lead with all of the other things that I do with ways to make, save, and invest money. I actually only talk about one specific consistency that shows groundedness. Everything else, no matter how volatile, she figures that out later. She might decide to invite me out for dinner. I might instead switch it to a lunch. Why would I switch it to a lunch? Because I got to go to work. I'm going to come back and do my podcast. Right? She doesn't need to know about that until she has reached a point where evenings and nights might be a thing. Y'all see I carry this like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. She might want to go out dancing one night. I got to work because I'm going to be dedicated to this particular activity. If she was a podcaster, if she's seen my show, she knows I go live on a regular basis. She's not going to value what I do and then schedule an event during what I do when I go live every night of the week. Likewise, it's not a co-hosted show. Somewhat of it is because we do have some guests up here. Collabing with me and developing a relationship on a collab, because if I've got more followers than her, she thinks that collabing with me could get her more followers. She's not in it for me. So you got to think about the fact that when you start paying attention to other people and their needs and their ambitions, you have to figure out how you mesh with what they've got going on the same way you have to figure out how they mesh with what you've got going on. So just agreeing with them just to agree with them is not always beneficial for you. You know, if you're a YouTuber or a content creator, you know, that a lot of people want to brag about that. Oh, you're a content creator, like 150,000, 500,000, a million subscribers, a million views. Wow. Now, somebody came and talked to me and told me that they had a million viewers. I'd be looking at them like, okay, what else do you do? I do not nearly have that much. But that lets me know that you don't got a lot of free time if you're editing videos and going live on a regular basis, right? Unless I'm going to be there while you're going live. I got to wait till you finish what you're doing. I'm here for 3 hours sitting in one chair. If my partner was here, my partner would either be waiting for me to finish doing this or be preoccupied with something else while I'm doing this. That kind of thing has to be addressed with value. Because I plan on doing this for another 10 or 20 years, right? When I retire, this podcast might be inherited by a legacy when I retire. That holds the same mentality and same mindset, right? Or similar mentality and mindset. All right. Now, since we've identified the transactional mindsets as the core mistake, now let's get into some solutions, because I never find you guys a problem without giving you guys a solution. And this isn't about changing who you are as a person. It is about expanding your toolkit. Here are going to be 3 mindset shifts that will transform you from a provider who attracts dependents to a partner who attracts a queen. Now, this is the foundational shift because it moves you from what I can give her to who I can become together, or who can we become together. So a provider is going to offer a resource, and a person that could use that resource is going to show up for it. A partner offers a presence. How do you do this? First, change your currency of value. On your next date, lead with your character, not your checkbook. Instead of talking about what you have, talk about who you are. Being the CEO of a company is not what you need to talk about. Being a kind and compassionate man, hardworking, ambitious, um, loyal, dedicated, devoted. All of these are traits and characteristics of the kind of man that a good woman should be looking for, that you actually portray. You can even come off on the other side and say that there are some times where you can find yourself irritable and frustrated, um, especially after a long day's work, but you're not talking about what that work is. Talk about challenges that you overcome and what you learned, not about this major deal that you closed, but how do you handle anger and frustration? How do you handle disappointment? You know, um, if you don't like being startled or taken by surprise, how do you usually react when you're taken by surprise? How do you function in life? Instead of planning a date designed just to impress with money, you got to plan one that is designed to create a shared experience and facilitate a connection. I told you this before. Private cooking classes, cooking together. He said coping skills. You can learn coping skills, and then you can talk about the coping skills that you learned and what you are coping from. So outside of cooking classes, a boat trip at a sunset, you can do that. And it doesn't have to be an expensive boat. It could be a rowboat. It could be a dinghy. It could be a canoe. It doesn't have to be a real expensive yacht or anything like that. It doesn't even have to be a boat with a motor on it. It could just be something that keeps y'all from drowning, that fits two people. And you can put in a lot of the work, or you can see if she's the kind of partner that can put in the work with you and follow instructions. Try getting in a canoe and rowing with a partner, right? And see if y'all are going in the same direction, right? Yeah, inflatable boats. You can do those too. Get an inflatable boat with some oars. I'm going to pedal on the left, you're going to pedal on the right, and we're going to switch. Simple things that allow you guys to work together, right? You can work on that at the beginning of the relationship. Or visiting an interesting exhibit followed by drinks at a quiet bar. And you don't got to have a bunch of liquor. It could be sodas. It could be, you know, something cheap, a couple dollars. A place where you guys can actually just talk. Oh, tandem bicycles, fantastic date. Tandem bicycles. And y'all can take turns on who's going to be in front, right? These are another way to show cooperation with one another. It requires way less money to rent a tandem bike for $10 or $15. You might actually buy a tandem bike and just keep that bad boy. Then every time you go on a date, like, hey, let's go on a bike ride. Nah, you let her drive and crash into some stuff. It's okay if she crashes into something. You got to think about the fact that a lot of this is about having fun. But a lot of this is about learning from each other and working together. So y'all can have a 20-minute bike ride to some location, eat, have a couple of drinks, rejuvenate, switch drivers, and then ride back. Taking turns. The difference is sharing responsibility, showing how to share responsibility, who can be in charge and who can trust who. You can start really getting a sense of who's who, right? These kinds of high effort, quality activities are often going to be preferred by higher value women. The goal is to demonstrate your value as a man, not just a success object. She wants to see your passion, your integrity, and your heart. And these are the qualities that create lasting attractions. Oh Lord, you're gonna say, well, but if you're on a tandem bicycle, how are you gonna get drunk? Because if she's driving and you don't hold your balance, y'all are gonna fall anyway. Those bikes are cool. Those are pretty neat. And actually, you can ride a tandem bike by yourself if you're riding in the front. It's just hard to pedal, and you got to make wider turns. But they're really cool to have, and especially if you have a family. You like the 3-seater or 4-seater tandem bikes, and you got the father, the mother, and the 2 kids, and you can actually put the one parent in the front and one parent in the back, and the kids in the middle, and the 2 parents can maintain the balance, and then dad can steer, and everybody's going in the same direction. That's actually a really awesome way to go about a family event, really, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. Everybody's working together, and even if the little kids' legs can't fit the pedals, they can ride in the middle, and everybody's going at the same speed, so nobody gets left behind. That would be an awesome date, right? And notice how I gave you simplicity. There's nothing overly cool about it. Remember, you said earlier, oh, we would just talk about some cool stuff. Bro, I just gave you a project that y'all could do. The first and foremost, if you've never been on a tandem bike before, the funnest part about it is both of you getting on, because one of you is gonna fuck this up and y'all are gonna fall 2 or 3 times before y'all get this right, and then you'll be able to start riding on the bicycle. And the first time you stop, one of y'all is gonna fall off, and y'all are gonna have quite a few laughs until y'all get used to this. Then it's gonna become second nature. Like, all right, let's go. Helmets on. Let's ready. Like a African bobsled team. And you're gonna jump on these bikes and you're gonna go. But that's an awesome date. That's an awesome date, right? And if you bought that bike and y'all stayed in that relationship, then guess what you have? That's gonna become a routine. We go biking on the weekend, every weekend or every other weekend. We pull that tandem bike out and we get on that bike and we ride together. And some are electric. Yeah, some are electric, but the funner ones are the manual ones, the non-electric ones. You get more exercise with it, but the non-electric ones, you put more effort into working together, because you both have to put weight on the same pedal at the same time in order for the bike to move. You both have to lean in the same direction in order for the bike to turn. You both have to try. Then, if one person stops pedaling, the work is on the other person. If the person that stops pedaling realizes the other person is overworked, they may, if you got a good partner, allow you to take a break and stop pedaling, and they pedal the both of you. So there's so much teamwork that's involved with a manual bike that's not there with an electric bike. But the fact is that just a tandem bike, that is the kind of date that not too many people think about. But that is cheap in comparison to $150 a plate for 2.5 to 3 hours at the restaurant, with a $60 reservation that you had to pay to get into the building, right? Where all y'all did was eat food. Y'all looked at the menu, you talked about what you wanted. While you were waiting on the food to cook, all you did was talk about her passions, and all she did was talk about your career. She asked you about what you did for your work and how you like your job and what kind of house you got. Do you own everything? What kind of kids you got? Blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to ask her all of her favorites, right? Y'all didn't get to know one another. You as a man would be trying to figure out what you can do to impress her to keep her here. And her as a woman is finding out how much stuff you've got and how much debt you have to pay. Child support, alimony, mortgage, car note, to see if there's any money left for her, and you're trying to see if there's any time left in her life for you, but you're not really paying attention to each other's character or ego or whatever, right? So a bike, that's a lot. That's something to do, because once y'all get to y'all's destination, while y'all are resting and drinking, y'all can sit there and have a talk and drink some water, some Gatorade or something like that, and y'all can sit there and have a talk and then ride back. Second, you got to practice collaborative leadership, which that tandem bike thing would do. In business, you're the boss. You're always the boss. In a partnership, you're co-captains to some degree, On a date, instead of saying, I'm taking you here, try, I heard Italian spot and a cool tapas bar. What are you in the mood for? Giving her two choices to choose from. Asking for her opinion and genuinely listening to it. This is going to signal that you have value in her input and see her as an equal, right? Steven says, I would never spend that on a plate of food. Yeah, you will. If she's hot enough, you will spend $150 split, because you don't really know until you get to the restaurant. A lot of times, those 5-star restaurants, like $85 a plate, and you end up with $125 a person, because you're looking at $85 a plate, $25 a glass. You might get 3 glasses at $75. You're at $155. She's gonna do the same. Y'all only had one main meal, maybe an appetizer. She probably got dessert, and by the time you finish, your bill is at like $475. Then 18% gratuity. Okay. You're looking at almost 40, 50 more bucks putting on the table. By the time you finish with that and taxes, you're at $500 for this date, $250 per person. Yeah, you would spend that much money. And men have done this so many times in life because trying to impress the girl. Trying to impress the girl. If you're willing to spend $300 at the bar with you and 5 of your friends and drinks are on you, you're willing to spend $500 on a girl at a restaurant for 2 plates of food, no take home. Dinner and a movie at the Cobb Theater in Western Chapel. That's in Florida. You can go over there. The movie tickets are like $30 to $45, especially if you're getting that 3D on the balcony kind of situation. Then you're looking at $50 to $75 a plate. You get a meal inside the movie theater, and then you get drinks, $15 a glass, mixed drinks, better than what you get at a casino or at a nightclub, right? Fantastic. But you went to the movies for $350. And I know, I took my mom there for her birthday. $350 so that mom could watch the first Avatar movie that ever came out. So it is what it is. And it wasn't the Avatar with the airbender. It was the Avatar with the blue people, right? So long time ago. But back then, $350 for the movies. Okay. So when you think about it, stuff adds up. Take bowling night. If you go bowling night when they're selling it per lane, you could find yourself spending. How you doing, Battle Zone? Special shout out. When you find yourself from bowling night, you can see yourself paying $85 to $100. You're looking at like $20 per pair of shoes. Then you're paying upward of $20 or $30 per lane. If you try to get one lane for the two of you to split, but they charge you per game. The balls are free, but they charge you per game. You try to get the membership. They might give you $50 for the night. That's fine. You're going to be here for 3 hours. That's fine. Instead of $10 or $15 per game, and you're gonna finish 5 games in an hour, you might go ahead and get the whole night thing, right? But if you spent $20 a shoe, you didn't spend $40 just to put shoes on your feet to go bowling, and if you spent $45 for the lane or $50 for the lane, you just spent $90 at the thing before you went and bought drinks, before you went and bought food. So if y'all get hungry, y'all get thirsty while y'all sitting there, and y'all start buying snacks and stuff, you're going to find yourself spending $25, $30 on food there and drinks. Doesn't matter if it's alcohol or high C fruit punch, you're going to find yourself buying 30 something, and now you're at $150 to go bowling, right? So when you say that you'll never spend that kind of money, yeah, you could. Because I didn't make it yet. That's over, and that's over a day's work. Yeah, it is. You've got to work 2 to 3 days out of your work week to take a chick out on a date that they're going to find impressive to them. Or when you start valuing yourself as an individual, you start finding yourself doing 1 or 2 hours worth of work to take them out on a date. And if you find the kind of person that values you, you're going to not have to work at all and go out on a date with them and have them pay for you so that they can see what kind of character you have. And this is very important. People don't pay attention to this point. The reframe is going to be very powerful because your value as a man is not your wallet. Your value as a man is your character, your vision, and your presence. And you have to tell yourself, you have to tell yourself that. Man, but I had bone spare ribs. I made me a bunch. I'm still eating them bad boys. I take a deep nap after I finish. Now, your logical mindset is a superpower in business, but in relationships, relying only on logic is like trying to paint a masterpiece in black and white. It can be done, but it is extremely difficult. Emotions are going to be the colors, and equal intelligence, EQ, is going to be the key. And it's a huge predictor of the relationship success. Finding out if your partner has emotional intelligence is pretty cool. Developing your EQ means learning to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions. So while you're also tuning into your partner's emotions, you have to proactively pay attention to your own. Here's your action plan. First, you got to become a feelings detective. Start with yourself. That way you know how to do this with other people. Throughout the day, you want to pause and ask, what am I feeling right now? Don't just judge it, just name it. Stress, excitement, anxiety, fatigue. Develop a more nuanced vocabulary for your inner world. Then apply this to your interactions. When a woman shares a problem, your logical brain will jump in to solution mode. Resist that effort. She's usually looking for validation, not a solution. If she says, my boss was so frustrating today, your instincts might be to say, you should report him to HR. Instead, try an EQ-based response. Wow, that sounds really frustrating. It must feel awful to not be heard the way you would prefer. The first response is a consultant. The second is a confidant. If I have to walk around on eggshells, it's time to go. It's not about walking around on eggshells. It's about paying attention. Okay? Walking around on eggshells means that you are afraid to act and afraid to react. Being a fixer works when the dishwasher's broke, when a pipe bursts, when the roof is leaking, when the car's not running. Being a fixer is not going to work when a family member dies. When you broke a bone and you go to the hospital and they did surgery on you. When you get appendicitis, being a fixer doesn't help with that. But them talking about how much it sucks to be in pain, and you're able to listen to that without trying to provide a solution. Beyond, yeah, I know it sucks. Especially if you've been there before. I remember the last time I experienced that. It hurt me just like it's hurting you. They didn't ask you to fix it. Fixing it was getting it off of their chest. So you're not walking on eggshells. So when I tell you, as a fixer, do not switch up and go directly into I'm going to fix your problem mode. Because a lot of times people get offended by that. and they'll lash out on you. I'm not broken and I don't need to be fixed. But your fixer mentality is to fix whatever it is that they've got going on. You actually build an unhealthy level of codependency when you proactively enforce you're going to fix their problem before they have an opportunity to resolve their own. They're going to depend on you to do everything for them. They're not going to do anything, and they're just going to tell you that it sucks. They're sad about it, and they're going to keep telling you about it till you fix it. But they're not going to fix it, right? But they could. They could ask around. They could ask for help from somebody that's not you, so that they could get what they need done without having to get it from you. Because if you weren't there, that's exactly what they would have done, is ask somebody else for help. And then take notes, learn it, reinforce it, so that they can take care of themselves. Well, in a way, yes, but the thing is here, it's not about just letting them fix their own problems. Being a confidant is being able to allow your partner to debrief you on the things that bother them. Okay. And no judgment, no resentment, no retaliation. And fixing it is responding or retaliating to the issue, trying to get out there and fix it. A lot of times they just want you to listen and accept the fact that they're feeling bad right now and this is why. So it's not so much that it's their fault problem, let them fix it. It's don't force your solution onto their problem. Let them at least ask you for help. You can treat it like a rom-com, and if they're going through some troubles that requires intervention, you don't have to offer a solution to the person. You can proactively go without them and fix the problem. The same way you would if your kid was being bullied in school. You're not going to tell your kid, oh, do X, Y, and Z. No, you're going to teach your kid how to fight in the backyard, but you're going to go to the school and you're going to make sure that they're not bullying your kid. You're going to the school without your kid to make sure that the things that you say away from your kid gets the respect for your kid when your kid comes back. If you went somewhere with your wife and she was overcharged for something and you know she's got overcharged, you don't have to fix her problem by telling her, oh, they took advantage of me. Make a phone call. That's it. You're just going to let her stay here and think about how, man, they charged me a lot of money for that oil change, $500 for an oil change. You're going to mosey on over there and find out why your wife spent $500 for an oil change, when they show you that she didn't pay for $500 for an oil change, and everything that she wasn't supposed to pay for, you're going to make them refund that because she didn't get that. She doesn't have to be there for that, but you will make sure that she doesn't get mistreated without her having to know that you've involved yourself. So it's not just it's their problem, let them fix it. It is that you shouldn't force yourself into a problem that doesn't require your immediate involvement. Only reason why they want to fix it, so they have someone to blame. No, a lot of times you fix somebody else's problems so that you can distract yourself from your own. Some people are in the situation that they're in because they don't want to change their lives. They're not going to ask you to fix it. They're going to allow you to fix it so that they don't have to put effort into it. They're not doing it so that they have someone to blame for the fact that their life sucks. But they will put the pressure on you to fix their problem, because if they pressure you to fix their problem, it's your fault if their problem remains, but it's their benefit if you fix it. You don't want to be in that type of position. Oh, the oil was extra virgin oil put in the truck. That's why it's $500. I mean, who's putting cooking oil in their engine? Because that's not going to do well with your vehicle. Not, especially not a truck. Especially not a truck. If you did full synthetic Lucas oil, that might would have. I don't know. Oh, okay. You stuck Lucas oil in your car. I see. But extra strength virgin oil. I don't know about all that. The second thing you want to learn is to use vulnerability as a strength. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It's controlled, authentic self-disclosure that builds trust. It's not a trauma dumping scenario. It's sharing small stories of a struggle and a lesson learned. And it is not done while your partner is venting. So if your partner comes and tells you about a hard day at work, you don't want to make the story about you and then uh, uh, sympathize or empathize by talking about your hard day at work. That's not what that's about. You guys are in a situation, there's no conflict, there's no disgruntledness going on, your partner's not griping about work, and you want to open up about this one time where you had a hurdle at work and you overcame that hurdle, and now you're good. And what you learned from that. These can be teachable moments in your relationship, right? These are the teachable moments with your kids. When don't put the butter knife into the wall socket. I did that one time and had my hair standing up on end. The story that you tell them lets them know there's negative consequences. Don't do that. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't like being surprised, and you tell the story about one time your friends had surprised you at a birthday party and they jumped out on you and you knocked your friend out. You had put ice on, you was apologizing for weeks. That kind of story lets her know probably should not try to scare him. He probably Mike Tyson punched me out. It's just small stories of a struggle, small stories, lesson learned, something simple, not a long 30-minute, this is what happened. 1 to 5 minutes, something like that. For example, new project has been a real stretch. I was nervous about the presentation last week, but I learned a lot about staying calm under pressure. That was like a minute and a half. This is incredibly powerful because it shows that you're human, you're self-aware, and it gives her permission to be vulnerable in return. Now, she's probably going to trauma dump it, and you're going to have to let that ride a little bit. The frame and reframing that you're going to have here is that vulnerability is not a liability. It is the gateway to the loyalty. Your third shift, this is going to be the final shift that ties everything together. You want to move from a relationship model that is transactional. What do I get out of the deal? To one that is transformational. How do we both grow? Notice when I talk to you guys about how two financially challenged individuals can come together, live on one income, invest the other income, and become multimillionaires, where the lifestyle that both people want to live would be satisfactorily covered by the dividends paid from the brokerage account. If your goal was to travel around the world, and now you've got the money to do it. If your goal was to own your own house, now you've got the money to do it. If your goal was to start up a business, now you've got the money to back you to do it. If your goal was to retire early and never have to work again, now you've got the money to do it. How do we grow together? A transformational relationship is about mutual evolution. Okay. How are you going to foster this? First, you have to focus on shared experiences, not monetary exchanges. The strongest bonds are built on quality time. Many women in relationships with successful men would rather have more time with their partner than another expensive gift. So stop thinking about how much you can spend on her and start thinking about how much quality time you can spend with her. This reinforces my goal of that 20-year plan. From now until whenever, we're going to do this and we're going to work hard. We're still going to spend time towards each other. But the goal is that after such and such day or such and such year, we're going to be here 100% of the time, giving each other our undivided attention going forward. It's a pretty significant end goal. After I reach 65, the next 35 years will be me staring at you trying to figure out what we're going to do because everything is taken care of from now on, right? It's the difference between a flashy weekend getaway and a quiet trip where you have uninterrupted time to talk and create a shared memory that belongs only to the two of you. Because a flashy getaway, she can put that up on social media and, oh wow, I went to Thailand or I went to Tahiti, fantastic. But I think you're going to probably remember that one walk at night in the park under a red moon with a shooting star more than that trip to Tahiti. I think that one afternoon that you watched the sunset where there were two moons in the sky, or no, you saw the moon and the sun in the sky at the same time. I think you're probably going to like that better. Shit, if there was two moons in the sky, you'd be like, whoa, I saw two moons. But no, there are moments in life that never go away. They're dull. They're boring moments. They're not worth posting up on social media, but they mean the world to you. Those moments are quiet. Those moments, nobody else matters, and sometimes nobody else is there. Those are the moments that you're trying to build with your partner. The ones that stretch past Alzheimer's and dementia, right? Not the one that disappears with the next Drake concert. So, the second thing is you want to become her biggest cheerleader, not just for her success, but for her growth. A high value woman has her own ambitions, and you got to be able to nurture that. Stop and smell the roses. Exactly. Smell the roses. Don't buy them. Stop wasting money on flowers that got murdered for your financial success. Go out and smell some unpicked roses, okay? Take her out to a flower field or something, right? But just spending a bunch of money on a bouquet of flowers that are going to be dead in less than a week? No. Get you some roses, seeds, and plant roses in your yard and take care of the damn roses so that she can come out and see and smell the roses every day. That's how you make an impact. You got some families, big piece of property, plant a tree in a yard. 10, 20 years later, big ass tree. 30 years later, that's grandpa's tree. Planted that when he first got here, right? Meaningful things in life that will outstand the test of time. That's what you're aiming for. So you want to ask her about her goals. Because when you ask them what they bring to the table, they don't fucking know. But if you ask them about their goals, what's the biggest dream you have for your career? And what's holding you back? How can I support you in that? Because, of course, they're going to want you to support their career, but are they going to support yours? Challenger. That's an amazing idea. Have you ever thought about turning it into a business? She do good hair. Have you ever thought about opening a salon? She massage backs real good. Have you ever thought about opening up a fitness center? When you invest in her growth, you send the most powerful message possible. I'm not just interested in who you are today. I'm invested in the person you will become tomorrow, right? And this is going to elevate the relationship from a romance to a powerful alliance. He said, instead of buying the seeds, I take seeds from the plants that I grew. Well, but that's what I'm saying. For people who don't already have the plants, You buy the seeds and you plant the seeds and grow your own flowers so that you can take the seeds from the plants that you grow to plant more flowers and grow more flowers. But instead of buying a flower that was already killed to be sold, you can just make your own. And $120 for 12 roses, you could buy a field of flowers and put them in your backyard for probably $20. And all you needed was 12 of them to survive. And you just saved $100. You save $60 if you bought you some fertilizer and stuff to make it grow. But it's the principle of the fact that instead of wasting money on that, you just invest on something else. And no, she's not on Tinder. He said, Battlezone says, I purchased roses and planted them in the yard. They can recover sometimes if you plant the roses. That I don't know a lot of flowers that actually survive after they've been cut, but it's called transplanting. If you replant them, you can potentially get them to grow new roots and start growing in the yard. But the amount of money that it costs for you to buy roses and the effort that it costs for you to repot those roses. Well, if you bought the rose plant with the root in it still in the flower pot and then you transplanted it into the ground, yeah, you could do that. And you'd probably pay for it to already be ready to go so that you can at least look at them for a while. But if you cultivated your yard and planted those seeds, sprinkled a bunch of seeds in there, and then watered them every day, and went over there and got the weeds out of the flower bed, you could grow your own rose bush in your yard. And you could probably grow 50 to 100 rose bush in your yard. And that would be better for you because now you can sell roses. Yeah, grafting, right. Grafting those roses. So the final reframe here is very critical because the goal is not to win the girl, because we've always treated women like the WWE title. The reason why they're called trophy wives is because they're just something to look at, everybody else wants, but it holds no purpose behind that. You don't really want that type of woman. You want someone that you can benefit from and they can benefit from you, and you guys can grow together and improve together. So you're not trying to just win somebody. The goal is to build a connection. This is going to be how you build your tribe, the Sigma mentality. You're going to be a builder, and you're building a career, a business, and a life of success. But the transactional mindset that comes with that will allow you to build your kingdom. But this is preventing you from finding a queen to go into that kingdom. You're leading with your wallet when you should be leading with your character. You're offering logic when she's craving emotion, and you're wearing armor when she's looking for vulnerability. But this is a diagnosis, not a life sentence. And now that you have that cure, the shift from provider to partner. Lead with your character, not your checkbook. Shift from logic to emotional intelligence. Connect with her feelings. Don't just solve her problems. Use vulnerability to build trust. Shift from transactional to transformational. Focus on building a connection through shared experiences and mutual growth. The journey isn't about becoming a different man. It's about becoming a more complete version of yourself. Integrating your masculine drive with the emotional depth that creates the true lasting love that you need to be successful. The empire that you've built is magnificent, but the legacy is built on love and connection. So the right woman won't be a liability. She will be the single greatest asset you ever have. And she won't drain your ambition. She's going to fuel it. Stop settling for women who are impressed by your success, your stuff, how much money that you're willing to spend on them. Start becoming the man who can attract a woman who is inspired by your soul. Build the connection first. The kingdom can wait. Because when King Arthur left the kingdom to conquer the world, The Camelot that he took over, he never got to benefit from. Yet and still, there was never a rebellion in King Arthur's castle. His queen held down the fort till he came back. So, if you're ready to stop the cycle of frustration and finally attract a high value partner that you deserve, I got you guys reasonable blueprint that is going to be in the membership, the Magnetic Man Blueprint. And that's going to give deep dives into these principles. We're going to start talking about in upcoming shows why successful men stay single and how to fix that, because that's essential for you to pay attention to. And then let me know in the comments which of the 3 shifts that you're going to start working on first this week. So, we covered a lot of things today. But now that you see why I keep telling you guys that leading with your wallets and men paying for the first date, men paying for any dates really, it's not the ultimate objective, because you're not being valued for who you are, you're being valued for what you do, or at least what you're doing is being enjoyed by the other person. You have to start finding more creative ways to engage and interact. There is someone out there for everyone, and a lot of people have this understanding that what if the person that was meant for me, I've already passed them by. You are not there yet until you have completed yourself first and then put yourself out there. Then you will find the person that you're meant to have. Are we done? I mean, normally you tiptoe off to go play chess right about now. So, prepare for your checkmate. But I will go ahead and wrap the show up now and start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, I give you this information to help you also become those higher value men that I know that you can be. You have to find the things in your life that are inside of your control that you don't like, that needs to change. And then you proactively put forth the effort to change that, and then allows you to navigate around the things that you cannot. And ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, you also can become higher value women by taking the information that I've laid down today. Finding your 20-year plan and putting forth the motivation and the effort to succeed in that 20-year plan, and then collaborating with a partner that might have similar goals, y'all can actually become more successful faster. But you're looking for a person with the right decision-making skills, the right character, the right personality, not the right spending habits to ball out of control and have you on his tab. You understand? So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow
Chase validation, now I validate my That's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.